Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 3 versus 3 on Cliff, and I'm going to be playing with the 6th Infantry Division. This is a new division that was added with the latest Nemesis DLC, Homefront, and it's been really fun to play. So I thought this game today that I'm showing off, this replay, will show off all it has to offer, and we're also going to be going up against the 157th on the right hand side, so we'll see some of those new units as well. But let's talk through the deployment here, because I have got the game underway, and we have 5 units of Navy Seals at the start with 6 units of airborne Stingers. We also have the LRS moving up there, and we've got an Alaskan sniper that's going to be trying to get into the high rise there. We've got an M48 A5 ACAV, a couple of Humvee tows, another M48 on the left hand side there. So this Humvee is just going to be controlling the main road. These guys are just spreading out into the town here, and we are going to bump into the Mi-8 TV, so the investment into all of these airborne Stingers is going to pay off pretty quickly as we shoot down the Mi-8 there, as well as the K1. But meanwhile on the right hand side, Reserve Razvedka got into position pretty quick and managed to snipe my M38 and my M35, sorry, with the Navy Seals in, and then the Humvee with the LRS soon after. So whilst we do get good kills on the left hand side against those helicopters, we lose 2 significant infantry squads on the right hand side. And the main reason that happened was because this was the first time I played this map, so I wasn't sure how far up I could get with those infantry squads, and it appears getting to these buildings was just a step too far for those infantry squads. But I am able to unload my Navy Seals further back, and those are going to be able to move through these buildings and engage the Reserve pretty well. Navy Seals are really strong because they have 4 M60s, and these M60s count as light support weapons, so they can be fired on the move, and they can also be fired like in the same building as the enemy. So really good at taking on enemy infantry 1v1. Of course going to suffer if they come under fire from support weapons, so we're going to duck out of that building and get back into cover further back here. I did lose my Stinger there, didn't manage to get it out in time. The Pulimachiki finished that off alongside the BTR 152. And the M48 here getting low on cohesion is pretty rough for me, especially since it's reservist. So I've got the tow Cobra over, and that's going to hopefully help deal with some of these vehicles. We've got 2 IS-2s and a T-55 to deal with. And the M48 here, it's going to take a shot from the IS-2, and I think it also tanked a shot from the Bastion ATGM. So it's really up to the tow Cobra to get the shots on target. Going to be able to do that, so that's great. Although the IS-2 managing to tank an ITO, it's quite something. Second shot though finishes the job. I do like the IS-2s for their points. I think for 40 points, you know, you get a decent amount of machine guns that are really good for providing infantry support. They're not going to be terribly good at dealing with, you know, enemy tanks of any kind really, but I thought the IS-2s would be pretty good at dealing with like machine gun APCs at least. Regardless, Navy Seals winning their engagement against the Pulimachiki, even under fire from their BTR 152, just kind of shrugging that off because of their Special Forces trait. Special Forces trait means they take less suppression in combat, which is really helpful, and maintains their cohesion, which allows them to get an advantage over what they're shooting at. Pulimachiki taken care of, and now we're going to be seeing the A10 coming in. So this is the Recon A10. It only has 38 HE rockets. The other rockets are smoke rockets. In this case, I saw an opportunity to hit these Urals, but just as I bring that in, Vector, he's going to bring in the T10K3, which is basically a prototype Su-27K. Meanwhile, on the right-hand side, Su-15 comes in, actually ends up taking out my tow Cobra. So, tow Cobra goes down as well. Bit unfortunate for me, but we are doing okay. We've managed to get into a decent position on the left side of this city, and we're slowly developing my position on the right hand side as my airborne dragons have now reinforced, and we'll be able to deal with a lot of the lighter vehicles that Vector has to offer. So airborne, pretty nice because of their shock trait. In this case, only 2 machine guns is going to make them a little lackluster against the 3 machine guns of the Pulamachiki, but since these are reserve units, we should have the advantage quite nicely, especially with the towed Cobra from my teammate here, providing those rockets on target. Yeah, both these units slowly getting taken out. Airborne Dragon's in a position where if the T-55 moves forwards, we actually have something that can reach out and touch it, so that's no problem. But here comes Su-15, going to get knocked out by the Stinger. I did buy the F-15 Eagle, just not fast enough to respond to that. But since the infantry got taken out on the right hand side here, I've moved in the Humvee CP. This is a 2-point sector, so contesting this is super important. And I'm going to be able to full cap it in this case. So airborne dragons with their Dragon 2s hopefully be able to take out these BTRs. Don't have much else to support at the moment. I have the Humvee back here maybe, or the M48. M48 though trying to take shots of the T-55 AM1. But we're taking out those BTRs nicely. Trying to take out the reserves. Su-25 coming over. Does make short work of the airborne. At least the Eagle was there to intercept. Over here, meanwhile, the Alaskan sniper just freely firing at the Przewnicki. Shouldn't really have that firing, because you kind of want your snipers to maintain their stealth and provide their recon over the town in this case. LRS almost got out of the building in time, but the rockets from the MA8TV were just too much. Stinger is going to be able to finish that off at least before the Eagle dives in. Eagle going to be forced back by enemy manpads. Now my next helicopter coming up to deal with the remainder of that infantry. I've got the Fireteam Dragons arriving, and the Fireteam Dragons in this deck, they can come in with the M1008 CCV with the grenade launcher on the back, and this grenade launcher, really, really good at providing support at max range against infantry. So that's what it's there for, whilst the fire teams with their dragons can deal with the armoured vehicles. So I felt like it's a really, really nice combination. You'll see the grenade launchers here start to open up against some of this infantry. Dragon's going to kill off the BTR there, so that's no problem. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, my Navy Seals making a little bit of ground up against the reserve Pulamachiki. If these reserve units don't have military police nearby, they suffer so badly because they lose cohesion very, very quick. So my Navy Seals sitting here with high cohesion, while the Pulamachiki probably on the lowest cohesion. But another M1008 with the grenade launcher, taking out one of the units there, the Przewnicki, and now providing support onto the Pulamachiki. So that's nice. I've got a couple of these Dragon M113s with National Guard. Since a lot of these tanks are low on cohesion, I'm just going to charge at them with these M113s and try and get their dragons on target as well. The National Guard can just push across the open in the meantime. Bringing in the Corsair with the bomb. Do manage to bomb that T-55, but we're going to get sniped out the air by the Krug. If you're wondering what that big explosion was, it's the Krug missile. It's absolutely huge. Also going to be bringing up the PVADs, because in this version of my deck it has been changed since, so if you see something different at the start of the game, it's because I have edited the deck quite a bit. Basically in this version of the deck I only had the airborne Stingers as my Stingers, and then I had the PVADs, and then which is the Vulcan, and then the Eyehawks, and that was literally it. So really, really lacking sort of manpad squads. I didn't have the USAF patrol, which have stingers in the infantry tab. Those are actually pretty handy to have, and I believe I added them after the fact. Because making sure that you're protected from helicopters is pretty important. Like, you have the Eagles, but they're not going to be too good at shooting down helicopters. So you need something that's a bit more reliable, and having more man-pads is the way to do it. M113s though managing to take out at least one of the Strela 3 squads there, as we start to come under fire from the BM24, which is a rocket launcher with 240mm rockets. Managed to avoid most of them with the fire team here and the National Guard, but the M13s do get taken out. Just hoping to finish off the next man-pad there, because you can very easily lose track of how many like man-pad squads you have, and then it would open up the Cobra here to be a lot more effective. But at the moment, just sending the Cobra back to the supply depot on the left-hand side to pick up some more rockets and head back afterwards. Now, pushing forwards didn't really work out too well for me after that rocket strike, as the ZPU Urals come in and start putting fire down range. These things are actually pretty good at killing off infantry, so the National Guards can't stay there and take that. Now this time around, I'm going to correct my mistakes from last time, and if I want to use one of my Corsair bombers, I'm going to need a Prowler to assist. Now the Prowler, best seed aircraft in the game right now. It has HARM, which is one of the longest range NATO seed missiles with 65% accuracy, and then it also has the electronic warfare trait. So the Prowler successfully takes out the Krug. Corsair comes in for the bombing strike onto them as infantry, and the Corsair is now going to evac as the T-10 comes in. I'm going to try and intercept that with the Eagle, and we're going to be able to shoot that down as well. So really nice airstrike there using the Prowler to great effect. And the F-15 taking out the T-10 means that's pretty much all he's got for the entire game. Those T-10s are down, which is really good for me. Yeah, the Prowler, electronic warfare trait. So going back to that, basically what it does is it reduces radar-based AA accuracy by 20% if it's in the radius of that blue circle. So if you fly over a radar AA, it will reduce its accuracy, which is really good, especially considering the Prowler already has 60% ECM. That thing is an absolute monster of a seed aircraft, and it's also the reason why the T-10 struggled to shoot it down, because whilst the electronic warfare trait doesn't affect the aircraft, it does still have to deal with that 60% ECM. So now I've got some artillery on the field. We got one of my 155s towed gun there. Just going to be shooting and scooting with that on the backside wherever we need it. So like this HDGam here would be a great target for it, but just finishing off an infantry squad on the left-hand side. I could have maybe tried to push into this sector, but the difficulty I was having is it's a bit open here, and there's a lot of room for support weapons to get shots on target. So there's like the TO-55, the BTR-40, there's a couple vehicles in here that I know about. So the Navy Seals just trying to push across the open there is going to end very badly indeed. Humvee here, not going to be able to get away from that HDGM, but did manage to take out one of the T-55s, so not awful, but honestly the Humvees are pretty expensive, like 80 points for the TOW2 there. Shouldn't really be wasting them if I can help it. Here comes the BM24 once again to hit the National Guards and the LRS. Cheeky dodge there onto one of those rockets. Decided in the end to just stay in the building, because when the explosions are landing around the building, not doing too much damage, and the dispersion of the BM24 is quite large. But if you manage to catch out units in the open with the BM24, it can do a lot of damage. So here comes the artillery onto the AT there. Rocket taking out my Stinger squad. We are going to repay a little bit of damage using the Vulcan, but Su-25 gets out alive. My F-15 also didn't manage to land the rocket to finish things off, but Su-22 now coming in, rocketing the Navy Seals. I am going to get right on the back of that and help shoot it down using the stingers, so that worked out nicely. And the SC-15 is going to struggle to get any damage onto my F-15, so that was really good as well. Some really solid air engagements so far. I've also got my supply into position to resupply the airborne leader in this case, and also the ATGMs of the Fireteam Dragon. TOW2 on its way, more Humvee TOW2s on their way to just try and keep things at a distance here. Keeping the Eagle hanging about just in case more aircraft decide to come in and spoil my fun. Now the LRS here and National Guard aren't able to get much done here. The recon helicopter on the right hand side was spotting them and just allowing the IS-2 to just lay into them at a distance, so I was forced to fall back. Did manage to get the TOW2 in on the left hand side there, so that's harassing some of his units, but the arrival of 2 more Mi-8 TVs is a little bit of a problem for my infantry, and this Fireteam Dragon, after taking a bunch of rockets to the face, then has to tank 2 IS-2s, which, as I mentioned earlier, are very, very good in that situation. Now I was going to dive for the Mi-8 there, but I'm going to go for the Su-15 instead. Didn't manage to get the Su-15. Oh, sorry, but my F-15 is actually going to get out thanks to its 40% ECM. Target neutralized. Need a ride? The artillery is still firing away, and we're still shooting and scooting on this backside. So the easiest way to do this is when they're unloaded, you just select them all and create a control group. And then when you press the control group and it selects all of the transports and the artillery, you just right click one of the transports and it will load all of your artillery into the nearest transport. And then you can press shift and move them afterwards. You can also queue that using shift. So you can do like shift right click move. Navy SEAL here trying to get away. Unfortunately not in time, as the Pioneers of Nico arrive to support a vector on this right hand side. But my M1008 CSE supplies are doing a decent job keeping things alive. You might also notice that I have brought up the CH-54 here to act as kind of like a forward supply base for these little cars to spread around supply. I've also got a couple of 107mm mortars, the M30 107mm mortars. Those are going to be able to provide smoke, because I was looking at potentially doing a push on this left hand side until Nico started to move in with his Pioneers here. So Corsair going to come in. Unfortunately the Prowler not able to deal with the seed that was further back. Going to be looking for it again, but most likely turned off. Just going to keep it hovering around. Going to bring in a Corsair with AT that might force them to turn it back on again. So just going to be looking to snipe any of these vehicles, make my life a little bit easier. Wasn't able to get the Maverick on target that time around. Prowler might as well leave since it's really low on cohesion. That is all we're going to get. So not too lucky that time around, especially with the abundance of radar AA that joined on the left hand side there. And there's loads of Mudschützen with Strelas now as well that take shots on my Eagle, which I'm just going to accidentally let float around whilst I'm focusing on this right hand side, because there's a lot of Prizivniki that have now pushed up alongside some Superi LPO. But it's up to the airborne leader, the LRS, the National Guard, as well as my M48 supports here, and the Humvees to try and control this engagement. So the Humvees with their TOW2s, they're going to look to take out the T-55s and IS-2s at range. The M48s, they're there to either take out the enemy tanks or engage this infantry with their multiple machine guns. And then obviously my infantry is just trying to take out their infantry. And I'm also kind of wary that they might try and target the airborne leader here with some sort of artillery at some point, so I'm getting ready to jump that out. But the building does get destroyed, which is not ideal. But USAF security arrive and they have a lot of guns. 3 machine guns, 10 rifles. SU-25 is going to clean up the airborne leader. Nowhere to hide with the building actually going down. It's actually going to get out alive as well, as I didn't really have much man pads left. So pretty rough, but we still controlled the sector. It wasn't contested or anything. Now more vehicles going to be moving up here, but the M1A1 catching a lot of rockets. On the left hand side, TOW2 going to just have to kill off some SPW-70s as they push forwards. Stadion going to move in and capture the right hand side. And the ZPU here able to get a decent amount of damage done to the USAF, and I can't really feel it back, so just going to have to leave that situation. You might notice we were at 969 points ahead. We are now losing a +6 across the board as Nico's now pushed in the center. We briefly lose the sector on the left hand side, so they're catching up quite a bit, and I'm feeling the pressure to try and take back this point from Vector, who just moved in and captured that once again. Navy Seals here, they've held for a while. Currently trying to deal with another Razvedka. But under fire from the TO-55, not good news. Should have been pulling those back. Here comes SU-22s. SU-22s doing a decent amount of damage there. These ones with the multiple cannons and rockets. That's from Battlegroup, if you're wondering. They were actually pretty effective this game at killing my infantry. But F-15 now hanging about once again, ready to intercept the next aircraft, which was the SU-25 in this case. I did bring in the Prowler to cover it, but the Eagle, a little too fast, did sprint well ahead. I did end up losing control here as the reserves are pushing up. I'm going to need to get more and more infantry into position. But what's good for me is these USAF security are going to be able to do a decent amount of damage to those reserves when they're not in the open. And I do have my tow Cobra here that's able to get some rockets on target. So whilst that's a 3v1 situation, the USAF are going to be able to help finish them off alongside the 20mm gun of the Cobra. And my Humvee here, trying to get over to the right hand side so that I can kill off the leader that moved in and is currently hiding down on the beach there. But Humvee's still trying to do a good job, unfortunately missing the TO-55. Left side, still just kind of chilling. Mortars going to be harassing an infantry that I thought I saw. And the Humvee moving in. It appeared the Stadion had gone back, so we're going to be able to fully cap this side. Eyehawks now on the field. I was kind of getting annoyed about these airstrikes, so decided it was time to just lock down the air with the Eyehawk. The Eyehawks are incredibly good, and I've got them coming in with 1 variancy to improve their accuracy to 60%. The other thing that you've got to make sure though, if you bring in Eyehawks, is to move them after they fire, because they are arty magnets. People will try and take them out as soon as they can if they have artillery on the field. So just moving that one back a little bit, moving this one across, for example. More M48s arriving on the right hand side here. But fully capturing this sector is going to take it off the little bit of pressure from the team, although the enemy is still on a +2. I'm going to take the opportunity to try and push up on the left side again. I've got the airborne Dragon alongside the security squad. Now be able to engage the TO-55. You'll notice that the artillery is coming in now, exactly where my IHawk was, so just as well I moved that. The fire team's arriving with dragons. Su-22s, they're going to come across, they're going to take out my Navy Seals. And they also did a lot of damage to my airborne dragon and the security there, which meant they got killed off. So this airstrike from Nico, those Su-22s, putting in the pain, that's for sure. And my IHawk's not able to shoot either of them down, so it was a little bit unfortunate. M13 is on the way with more National Guard just to try and help hold the line. The fire team's trying to get their shots on target, but wasn't having much luck trying to take out these T-55s, to be honest, throughout the game. Supplies coming in for the IHawks, keeping them loaded up is really, really important. They only have 3 missiles, so they run out very, very quickly. M48 here at least able to take out one of the Strela 3 squads. The Dragons, they don't really last. Just not able to get any hits on that T-55. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, Humvee up on the ridge here, taking out a Ural at least, which is going to kill one of the Ochrana. And in this situation, the Ochrana, yeah, it's a chunky squad that will be able to deal with enemy infantry. But if they're coming under fire from 50 cals at the same time, then they're going to have a bad time. And my National Guard here, they're just going to stand and engage out in the open, whilst the 50 cals of the M13s are basically uncontested and able to get free shots on target. Once again, the IHawk position gets artied, but I've already moved it all the way to the right hand side here. So we're avoiding that artillery and kind of wasting enemy supply in the process, which is really, really good. And the Ochrana, they're going to get finished off. National Guard able to hold them back. Fortunately, rocket artillery coming in on top of them means they're not going to last too much longer. That's both the 240mm rockets of the BM-24 and Grad rockets coming in at the same time. Well, most likely like RM-70 rockets coming in at the same time. This area just goes up in smoke along with those National Guard. Poor chaps. M48 in the middle finally gets finished off as the team starts to recover these points in the centre and the left hand side. The centre one gets capped there, pushing us to a +2, which is nice. Humvees are currently dealing with the BMP-1s here. BMP-1s are really vulnerable to 80 gems because I don't think they have smoke, so Humvee here just slowly but surely finishing them off. The Stallion does drive forwards, goes for the beach capture again. This time around, I'm well aware of where it is, so, and I've got the Humvee in position already, so I've just got to move over enough that I can get line of sight. There it is, down on the beach. And down it goes. Lovely kill there from the Humvee, and we're going to be able to cap it back quickly with my Humvee CP. We want to maintain that +2, stay ahead in the conquest points. So Cobra providing nice rocket support onto the Ochrana. Ochrana doesn't have any AT, so I don't mind it getting too close to the Humvee. I've just got to wait for this to cap, and then I can move the Humvee out again. The Humvee tows, finishing off the T-55, which is good. And we're starting to get some decent control here. There's not a lot of enemies that we can see, even with my Alaskan sniper here in the high rise on the left hand side. It'd be good if I could have got a sniper up here. That would have been fantastic. Then you could see most of the city. I think controlling these high rises in the center is actually pretty important on this map, and since playing I would definitely focus on getting recon into those more now. But you can see a push coming on the left hand side, so 107s, they're going to start to deploy smoke. I've got 2 engineers with flash launchers, we've got the USAF security, we've got 4 squads of National Guards with their M13s with Dragons. My plan was to try and get a little bit of a foothold into Delta so that I could push a leader in the corner there and start capping that up as well to even increase the lead that we currently have. Like over on the left here, Commissar Krieg is able to get into here and provide a +4 for the team temporarily. So that's able to get us potentially in the lead on these conquest points. I got the Eagle coming in to hang about once again, just to make sure that we're ready if any airstrikes come in against my infantry here. And you can see there is an Su-25 that gets called in to deal with my push, but the Eagle already being up in the sky is going to be able to head straight across and shoot that down. So lovely stuff indeed. And now the infantry engagement starts. Now, what I didn't anticipate is bumping into Wachschützen. Now, Wachschützen, pretty good. They have shock trait and resolute trait. And in this case, this is the Wachschützen RPO. So they've got napalm launchers. And that's going to be doing a significant amount of damage to my poor National Guard. Now, F-15 looking for the Su-27 here. Able to shoot that down. Beautiful stuff. Prowler hanging about. I believe what was shooting at the F-15 actually ended up running out of ammo, so the Prowler didn't have a target after the fact, but multiple Strela 1s on the way. I'm going to try and avoid flying over the top of them. Now, as that's all going on, the push is still happening here. Dragons, the M113s with the 50 cals are actually probably doing the most damage in this situation. The flash launchers are all used up and they're going to get killed off. My airborne leader was coming up to try and move in there, but you can see there's still quite a large enemy presence in position. So there we go. F-15 sneaking through on the left-hand side, coming around to try and stop the Su-25 from getting a strike on target. Whilst I don't manage to get much damage on it, we do lower its cohesion enough to force it to fall back. So that was nice, at least. All the while, more infantry arriving on the right hand side. My fire team Dragons trying to push up. I've got the USAF security to come with them and provide the military police bonus. More and more infantry now arriving from Vector on the left to counter this little push we got going. I've got the two M48s here that are going to be able to help at a distance. We've got my artillery starting to come in from the back onto the reserve leader. If I can kill the leader and then get the airborne into the sector, we'll be able to get quite a strong lead for a long time until he gets another leader from the spawn to that position. Now, Eagle coming in once again. I've got 4 Eagles up my sleeve now, and that's another Su-25 going to get taken out. He's so reliant on the Krux, and with one of them killed by the Prowler and the other one's most likely out of ammo at the moment, the F-15s is so free to fly around on the backside. Now, a little bit of a mistake on my part here. The airborne leader, they have smoke grenades, so I could have easily smoked him into the corner of that sector, but didn't quite manage to get the full cap there. But it is still a +7 for the team, and that does mean we will win in 1 minute if it continues. M48 still providing fire support onto the Ochrane here. I've got more engineers with flash launchers on the way, and also the Navy Seals. Ihawks are going to try and stop the Su-25 from killing the M1A1, and we do manage to force it off and then shoot it down with an Ihawk on the back there, so that was pretty good. But these IS-2s over here, they were actually causing me quite a bit of problems. You can see my CUCVs so far up. They're going to have to do a bit of a runner down the airfield taxiway. T-55 shrugging off some of my tow missiles. Yeah, the T-55s, I don't know what it was this game, but my HGMs were not hitting them for most of the game. But that's going to be victory. The +7 enough to push us over the edge, and that is it. 34 minutes, 54 seconds, minor victory, 7,255 kills, 4,300 losses. So at the start, the Navy SEALs that survived, they did a decent job. The stingers were really, really important. Like making sure that the stingers get into position early is really, really important. Now, in this case, my stinger actually ended up shooting down my tow Cobra because the SU-15, it got like 1 infrared on target, and then my stinger blew up next to the tow Cobra and killed it. The Alaskan sniper actually did a good job, even though it was supposed to be on return fire. It just kind of free fired and actually killed a decent number of dudes. So that was all right. My 155, super important. Like shooting and scooting with these is really, really useful way to take out annoying infantry, especially dug-in infantry. TOW2s, unfortunately not finding like good targets. I think in a situation where like you can get the TOW2s to kill, like say if you're not playing against 157, you're playing against something a bit more tanky. If you get your TOW2s to kill a like Abrams, or I guess what would it be, like a T-80, then you have like such a nice infantry advantage that you can take advantage of once you've taken care of those heavier targets. So I think 6th has a lot of potential. I think in 10v10 it's fine. You just got to play around those sort of town locations. I think it's going to work best in towns, not necessarily like forests. I think in forests you're going to be outmatched by more infantry specific divisions, but it has that sort of like interesting sort of tows that can control the longer ranges, and then you've got infantry that sort of doesn't want to necessarily be on top of enemy infantry, but has a lot of sort of presence and a lot of numbers, so you can kind of kill infantry at range nice and easy. Yeah, I think 6th is pretty decent, and the Prowler's such a badass seed aircraft. Really, really like it a lot. So yeah, anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed that look at the 6th Infantry on Cliff, the new map. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.